Hello, everybody. Today I wanted to talk about the topic about breakdowns, breakthroughs, and how that correlates and relates and how it's beneficial for our spiritual life, our spiritual journey, and healing and well being, and all of that good stuff. So, if that sounds like something you would like to learn about, or maybe just get some clarifying messages, I am here for that. So if you don't know, my name is Angelia. I am the face and creator of Ancestors Mama, where ancestral healing is the very core and foundation of everything I do. It is my life's mission, passion, and work. And today, Spirit called me to talk about breakdowns. Having a breakdown, feeling like all is lost, and just having a meltdown or a breakdown, whatever you want to call it. And how that's actually beneficial and healing for our spiritual journey and our spiritual healing. And as everything in life, a lot of times our biggest inspiration is our own life experiences. And Spirit urged me to be brave, being brave more so, and showing up on here and showing my face and showing you guys that I'm just as much on this journey as you guys, as an experiencer myself. And as an intuitive empath, I tend to feel a lot the weight of the world, which sometimes can be heavy, and I can feel the emotions, the grief, the feeling of the collective. And a lot of times, ironically enough, when I'm going through a transformative period, or when I'm going through a certain cycle in my life, a lot of it has to do with the moon cycles. Spirit urged me to step away from trying to do new moon or full moon readings, just speaking from my heart, and more often than enough, my own intuition, my own guidance, and the wisdom from my ancestors and my guides usually are in line with the moon cycles in itself. And today I was called to talk about these breakdowns. So, what is a breakdown? How do you know you're having one? And what is the purpose of it all? A breakdown, a nervous breakdown, an emotional breakdown, a spiritual mental breakdown. This is when we have literally had enough, and our mind, our body, our emotions, and spirit just wreak havoc. Whether it feels like you're having a nervous breakdown and you have the jitters and your mind is not at ease and you stay awake at all hours, or it's an emotional breakdown, an emotional release where you're crying, screaming, raging. Or it can be a spiritual breakdown where you feel like you're not in this realm and you don't know what's real and you feel crazy. That's also a breakdown. And if we break down the word breakdown, it literally means to break down. Whether it's to break down our emotions, our emotional well-being, our spiritual well-being, our mental well-being, it's to break down so we have clarity. Just like with the winter, when the leaves fall in autumn and winter is here and everything is barren. Ironically, the winter, as much as it freezes the earth, it also helps fertilize for new ground, for new growth in the spring. And I like to look at a breakdown as well like that. I like to think of it as winter for our spirit. And when we're going through this transmutation and this breakdown of our emotions, of our mental well-being, of our spiritual foresight, it's for us to level out the playing field and for us to start new, start fresh, or to not have any distractions, distractive thoughts, to see things for what it is. A lot of times when we have a breakdown, clarity comes forth, but not only clarity, grace and gratitude. And these are the simplicities of life that allow us to make peace where we are, but also be in alignment and have the harmony that we wish to receive in our life. And what my spirit guides were giving me, my ancestors were giving me during this time about this breakdown, I had one myself not too long ago, and I was feeling certain ways. A lot of times, a lot of us, especially as empaths, anybody who's faced some sort of trauma, more often than not, we face imposter syndrome at one point in our life. And I was having these feelings of imposter syndrome, of need, of wanting, of urgency, of not feeling enough, feeling unworthy, feeling lack, not knowing what to do, feeling like I'm running out of time, I'm running out of ideas. And I know all of us have been there, where we feel like because of capitalism and colonialism, that we feel like one way or another that we are not enough, we don't have enough time, and it's always this feeling of a race, like we need to constantly compete. Even now, unfortunately, in the spiritual community, it's gotten to be like Starbucks, like a drive-through. And I'm quoting Bahati Life, so if anybody wants to share this video with her, I appreciate you. But anyways, the breakdown. And during this breakdown, I literally had a heart-to-heart with spirit. And more often than not, when you have a breakdown, you literally cry down on your knees and you're like, enough. I've had enough. When will this end, right? And I had this moment with spirit, and I'm just like, because I've had a lot of trauma that I've had to process in my life. As many times as I feel like I peel back a layer, another layer comes out that I need to peel in order to continue to dig deeper into the core essence of my humanity, my human being, this vessel that I'm living in this lifetime, to be present and to come to terms with why I'm here and to come authentically. And I know part of my life's work and lessons is to continue to show up authentically, however hard it is. And I know many of us have gone through those hardships and those lessons, so I know I'm not alone in that. And that's why Spirit called me to be brave enough to speak about this with you guys, to speak with authority and knowing, because like I said, I'm an experiencer like you guys, and I know too well. And luckily, not luck, I've been blessed with the intuitive gifts of usually deciphering these emotions and these meltdowns and these tough times very easily, where I can seek and see the spiritual guidance through it all. And through this time of having a little bit of a meltdown and having this breakdown, Spirit was showing me the correlation between this and the Sagittarius New Moon, and how going forth for the year 2022, a lot of us knowingly, mentally, intellectually can understand the hardships and the, how do I put this, the deepness and the roots of a lot of our trauma, a lot of our issues, our blocks. You know, when people tend to talk about manifesting, they like to talk about it from such a one-sided perspective and still labeling it as if we're not enough, which is completely misleading the point of spirituality. The point of spirituality is coming home to ourselves. And that was the message in essence the Spirit was giving me with this breakdown. When we have these breakdowns, when we feel like we are not enough, there is not enough time, there's not enough resources, it brings us back home. That's the purpose of it all. As hard as it may be, when we're having a spiritually, emotionally, mentally rough time, we're not getting the finances and the resources that we wish and we desired and we think we need, as if we don't have them already. And that's something that as human beings we have a tough time facing, because a lot of us, especially who have grown up in impoverished environments, growing up in childhood, or who, you know, identify as a person of color, a black or brown person of color, we understand how unfair life can be. So when we're told this story constantly about manifestation, that you're not doing enough or it's your fault, we're like, wait a minute, that doesn't feel good. And that's something that I'll go into in another video, but that's something I myself have been delving deeper into for my healing services, to be a better service for my clients, whether it's just a reading or my 12-week deep dive ancestral healing program. And it's to fully understand these blockages in a whole piece, not just from a one-sided, very patriarchal, capitalistic, colonial mind thinking of like, you're not manifesting just because you're not doing enough. And I was in this space, and in order for me to be of service of healing, I know, and that's why I continue to call myself an experiencer. I know part of my life, how I learned these lessons is experiencing them just as everyone else, humbling me in order so I can fully understand these issues and give the compassion I need, not only for myself, but for my clients and future clients. And through this breakdown of having this revelation, having this epiphany and wisdom given to me by Spirit, my guides, and my ancestors, they were calling me to give attention to the need and fact of how a lot of us are now understanding these blockages and how one-sided they have been, looking at it from a certain view and perspective that doesn't align with us, especially people, like I've said, who've had a tougher time growing up, and that hasn't been our reality. And in order to see a better reality, we need to accept the reality we are in. In order to heal the reality that we're in that limit us from thinking we can't have enough, we have to accept where we've been, right? And Spirit was telling me how I love this ascension and coming back to ourselves within the Latin, Black, Brown, and Indigenous community. And they all have their own perspectives, but in a nutshell, a lot of us who identify as Black or Brown people, and especially who are re-identifying ourselves with our indigenous roots, like myself, who is Puerto Rican Taino descent, and understanding the correlation and the deeper meaning and roots to these traumas and pain going forward, how important it is for 2022 and thus forth, feeling our emotions. And these breakdowns are the breakthroughs through it. It is the purpose through it. Because unfortunately, past generations and even present generations, our parents, didn't have the tools nor capacity to feel their emotions and identify them and understand them as we do now. We have the tools to understand this now. There's so much knowledge in the Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities coming forth for us to not only to identify with and understand their own preface to our pain, but also going forth to reclaim our power from our Indigenous or African roots or whatever culture you identify with. This is the point of it. And so Spirit was calling me to speak on this because this solar eclipse in Sagittarius is that breakthrough. It's us going deeper into our emotions, not only intellectualizing them, because Sagittarius is all about learning new things. Prophecies is coming to mind as well. It's not just knowing them on an intellectual and mental level. Now we understand the core element to these pain points and these wounds and traumas. Now it's time for us to integrate them into our feeling, our emotional body, so we can have the breakthroughs we desire in order to receive. And so I just wanted to have a little moment of silence after that, because right after, I will give myself as an example. And before I go into that, anyone we know that's inspiring had some sort of breakdown and had their moment of breakthrough. And it doesn't happen just once. It happens over and over and over. And it's to build our strength. It is to build the momentum. It is to build up our power, our inner sense of self, so we don't back down and we don't forget why we came here. Because we all have a purpose. We all have a reason and mission in life. But sometimes, as much as our human selves don't like to experience it, it is part of our experience. And just like it is part of our human experience to deeply feel things and see the diversity of emotions and feelings, it's also important to remember who we are as humans now. Understanding our bloodline, our lineage, understanding the vast varieties of perspectives that come with it to fully embody and embrace who we are. That is the whole point of ancestral healing and understanding our roots. And when we do that, and we constantly persevere, we not only build ourselves up, we build up people around us. We inspire people because we come through the hardships, and everybody that identified with us, that understood, that came from the realm of things we came from before, we help usher those people forward even more. And that's what this Sagittarius New Moon is helping bring to light. And not just for the Sagittarius New Moon in 2022 going forward. I always like to look at the end of year as a time of reflection, and this is deeply a time of reflection to know where we came from, everything we've learned along the way, but also not only ourselves individually, but our lineage, how far we've come, how much we've overcome, how much we persevered even through the oppression, even through the genocides, even through the enslavement of our people. We're still here, myself included, people who are in my community, in the Puerto Rican spiritual community. They like to say that Taino people, Taino natives were extinct, but it's in my blood, and it's in many people's blood that I know of in this community. And we prevailed, and we will continue to prevail. And a little sneak peek to a video I actually recorded previously. I talk about this in my need in healing through music. And many times when we have nothing and we have this breakdown, we come back to the simple things, the simple pleasures that bring us light, that make us feel love and safe, because that's what spirituality is in a nutshell. It's about coming home and helping us feel safe. And sometimes, unfortunately but fortunately, we have to have these breakdowns to bring us back home, to make us see the light, to show us how far we've come and how much potential we have going forward, because we have prevailed through so much. I hope you guys found this helpful. I want to give little messages and wisdom, little tokens of wisdom that I have been given from my spirit guides, and they've been nudging me to be brave in sharing this. And before I go, I want to say the word for this message, even though the message in itself is about breakdowns, is trust. Trusting that you will make it through. Trusting in yourself that you have the wisdom, the knowledge, the strength, the ability to keep going forward. And trusting in spirit that every step of the way, even through the bowl, that you're going to be guided and you're going to have your breakthrough. And even if you break down 1,000 times, every time you come up and you have that breakthrough, it makes it that much more potent and powerful. And you're that much more creative and receptive and loving and abundant. So I will leave you guys with that. If you are interested in any of my services, I will link that down below in my Platica link. Like I said, I do have a 12-week deep dive ancestral healing program where we get really deep into the nitty-gritty of these blocks, understanding the essence of them, where they're coming from, and healing them in a wholesome way, not just from a linear mental perspective, but embodying our emotions and everything that comes with it, and as well reconnecting with our roots and our ancestors. So I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Ha home.